Breaking news! Something's brewing in Berea, and it's the kind of thing that makes fans lean in closer to their screens, as it could shape the entire Browns season. ESPN's roster projection for next season by Daniel Ofusi didn't just reveal who's in, it exposed who's out. And let me tell you, the three missing names are enough to spark serious debate among fans. We're talking about players with real expectations, players who should contribute, suddenly, from the outside looking in. Why aren't they part of the plan? Are these the right decisions, or might the Browns regret them once the season starts? Let's dive in because, after hearing the reasons, you may never look at this roster the same way again. I have a few more things to tell you, but before I continue, make sure you enjoy it. But only do so if you've been a Browns fan for over 17 years. It's always great to see loyal fans of all generations interacting here. It means a lot to us. If you can, right, go, Browns. My heart bleeds brown and orange. The first and biggest point of contention is the quarterback spot. Kenny Pickett, yes, the same Kenny Pickett some fans were excited about as a new option, wasn't included in Ofusi's projection. And that's incredible when you realize how rare this situation is. The Browns have 5 quarterbacks you could argue for, something almost unheard of in the NFL. Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Pickett all have a shot at making the 53-man roster. But if we focus only on healthy players, since Watson's status is still uncertain and he could end up on the ineligible list, that leaves 4 names vying for what appears to be 3 spots. The rookies, Gabriel and Sanders, are essentially untouchable. According to Ofusi, they'd have to completely fall apart in camp, metaphorically roll around in disaster and show up the next morning acting like nothing happened, for either of them to lose a roster spot. So that's 2 safe spots already taken, leaving just 1 opening for 2 veterans, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Here's where it gets tricky. If Flacco clearly outplays Pickett in camp, the decision is obvious, you go with the veteran. But what if they're dead even? Do you take a chance on youth and development, or do you stick with the steady, experienced hand that Flacco offers? And this isn't just a simple choice. There's some clever roster maneuvering the Browns could attempt. One sneaky move Ofusi pointed out would be releasing Flacco, since as a veteran he wouldn't be exposed to the waiver wire, then signing him to the practice squad and elevating him for the first 3 games. That way, you keep both quarterbacks and protect Pickett from being claimed by a QB-hungry team, like the Saints, who are suddenly desperate after Derek Carr's unexpected retirement. Smart, right? But it's also risky, and if you had to bet, Ofusi believes the Browns will stick with experience. Kevin Stefanski can't afford another season with offensive instability. He's coaching to win now, and Flacco gives him the best chance to avoid another disaster start. Now, if that quarterback situation wasn't enough drama, the running back room had its own eyebrow-raising omission. Quentin Judkins, who was expected to add depth and explosiveness, isn't on the projected 53-man roster either. The reason? Off-the-field trouble, and it's serious. Judkins hasn't signed his rookie contract yet, and that's no coincidence. He was arrested in Florida for alleged domestic violence, and the Browns seem in no rush to commit to him until the legal process plays out. Ofusi predicts Judkins will likely land on the commissioner's exempt list, essentially freezing his status while the league investigates. Even in the best-case scenario, expect a suspension, probably in the range of 4 to 6 games. That means he wouldn't even count toward the initial 53-man roster, and the Browns would hold his rights while waiting for clarity. But here's the bigger question for fans. How many times have we seen this before? Another talented player with a dark cloud hanging over his head, and once again Andrew Berry and the Browns front office have to balance talent with character concerns. It's exhausting for fans who are tired of seeing the franchise gamble on guys with baggage. And let's be honest, this isn't just about football, it's about the reputation of the team. Finally, the third name missing from the roster projection adds another layer to this discussion. Devin Bush, the linebacker who stepped up last year when injuries hit, is not part of the plan either. And while his legal troubles, a recent arrest in Pittsburgh, certainly didn't help, this decision seems to be about more than that. The Browns are clearly pivoting to youth and speed at linebacker. The projected starters are Jordan Hicks, Mohamed Diabate, and Carson Swessinger, with Jerome Baker providing veteran leadership early in the season. Nathaniel Bookie Watson and Winston Reed are expected to handle special teams and injury depth. Bush's experience just wasn't enough to outweigh the upside of younger, faster players. So there you have it, 3 notable names left off the projected roster, each for different reasons. Pickett is a victim of a win-now mentality, Judkins is stuck in legal limbo, and Bush is being pushed out by younger talent. But here's the thing, are these the right moves? Will sticking with Joe Flacco pay off, or will the Browns regret not giving Pickett a real shot? Should the team even keep Judkins' rights given the allegations? And is moving on from Bush too soon when you consider his value as a depth piece? I want to know what you think. Are the Browns making the right calls here, or are they setting themselves up for trouble later in the season? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is just getting started, and I want to hear every opinion. And here's where things get even more interesting, because these decisions don't just affect the players left off the roster, they ripple through the entire team and could define how this season starts. Let's circle back to the quarterback situation for a moment because this might be the single most important decision Kevin Stefanski makes this offseason. Going with Joe Flacco is the safe play. He's steady, experienced, and has already proven he can manage a game when things get tough. But safe doesn't always mean better in the long term. If Flacco starts and struggles, the calls for Kenny Pickett are going to be deafening, and you know how quickly that kind of drama can split a fan base. Do you trust the veteran to hold things together, or are you risking a wasted season by not developing the younger talent now? That's the gamble Stefanski is taking, and it could define his future in Cleveland. The risk doesn't stop there because, while Flacco is the favorite to start, there's no guarantee he will deliver the way fans hope. And if he falters early, what does that do to the rookies? Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders might be locked into roster spots, but does the team have a real plan for their development, or are they just sitting back waiting for a crisis to throw them in? That's where this strategy could backfire. If you're too focused on winning right now, you might sacrifice the growth of the young guys who could be the future of the franchise. It's a delicate balance, and so far, the Browns seem to be leaning heavily toward the short-term fix. Then there's Quentin Judkins. His absence from the roster projection is understandable, but it raises a bigger question about the Browns' ability to consistently identify players who won't become distractions. Andrew Berry has done some great work building a competitive roster, but fans can't ignore the recurring theme of off-the-field problems. Judkins' situation is still just allegations, but the fact that he hasn't signed a contract and is likely headed for a suspension means this is already another unwanted storyline for a team trying to establish credibility. Even if he serves a short suspension and eventually joins the team, what kind of message does that send? Are the Browns once again putting talent over culture? And will that attitude catch up with them in the locker room? Because make no mistake, locker room chemistry matters, especially for a team like the Browns that has been trying to shake off years of dysfunction. Adding a player with a domestic violence allegation, even after a suspension, could divide opinions among teammates, just as it does among fans. And while some fans might be willing to overlook it if he plays well, others are tired of seeing this same story play out year after year. The question is whether the Browns are willing to finally draw a line on what kind of player they bring into the building, or if winning will always outweigh everything else. And finally, let's talk about Devin Bush because this decision might say more about the future of the Browns defense than any other cut. Bush played an important role last season, stepping in when injuries hit, and he proved he could still contribute. But this coaching staff clearly believes in the younger, faster options they've added. Jordan Hicks, Mohamed Diabate, and Carson Swessinger are expected to be the starting trio, and if they stay healthy, that's an exciting group. Jerome Baker's veteran presence adds some stability early on, and Winston Reed and Nathaniel Bookie Watson are being counted on for special teams and depth. Still, moving on from Bush is a risk. Depth is everything in the NFL, and if injuries strike again, you might wish you had a reliable veteran like him waiting on the sideline. And let's not forget, he played well when called upon last year.